So here we have 280 grams of all-purpose flour. We can also put just like the cup measurements.
Okay.
Like the recipe. I think it's like 2 1/4 cups or something like that. And to this, we're going to mix in all of our dry ingredients first. So I have a teaspoon of baking soda, a teaspoon and a half of cornstarch, and we're using cornstarch because that just creates like a really nice like soft texture in the cookie base.
Sounds wonderful.
Yeah. And then a half teaspoon of kosher salt. Sometimes salt has things, so we're gonna just get that out. Okay, so we're gonna whisk all of that together. We want to do the dry ingredients in a large bowl because we're going to be adding the wet ingredients into this bowl, so we need something that has like some room that we can mix it up. Okay. So we can just set that aside, and now in like a medium-sized bowl, we're going to mix. We're going to start with our wet ingredients. So we're actually going to start with our brown sugar. We'll have all the measurements and everything listed in our recipe. And a little bit of white sugar. So we're using a combination, but we're using mostly brown sugar because that's going to give us also like a softer, like chewier cookie base. So mix those together first, just so it all is nice and evenly incorporated. And then we're going to do 3/4 of a cup of melted butter. So I like this particular cookie base recipe because it's super simple. Like you don't have to chill the dough or anything like that. It uses melted butter, so it's just really fast. You don't have to wait for butter to come to room temperature or anything like that. We're just gonna mix that together really well.
Like you can just use a whisk too.
Yeah. Yep. This cookie base is no mixer, nothing. Like it's all just made by hand. It's super easy. So we're gonna mix that together really well. So our butter was cooled after we melted it, so we can just add our eggs right in. If your butter is super hot, you definitely want to make sure that it cools off a little bit. Otherwise, when you mix in your eggs, you're going to scramble your eggs.
Yeah.
So it needs to be semi-cooled. So here we have an egg and 1 egg yolk, and that just also creates like a nice like rich cookie. So we're going to mix that up really good. To make this recipe easier, you can definitely just use pre-made cookie dough. I've done that before, and then this is like a super fast recipe, but today we're going from scratch. Yes, we're extra. So then to the sugar, butter, and egg mixture, we are going to add a teaspoon of, no, I'm sorry, 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Because we love vanilla.
I love this copper measuring spoon.
I know, me too. Okay, so just set that aside. So that's it. So our wet ingredients and our dry ingredients, we're gonna pour the wet ingredients into the dry. Always use a rubber spatula to make sure you get every little bit out. Buttery, sugary goodness. Okay. And then we're just gonna whisk these together. So you can also use this exact recipe and just make it like as cookies. It's really good. It's a really good chocolate chip cookie. But then I would recommend maybe chilling the dough because since we use melted butter, it is definitely going to be a little bit of like a looser dough. Mm-hmm. And if you don't chill it first, you can just run into like major spreading issues with your cookies. Mm-hmm. Just mix that. You don't want to be too aggressive because we don't want to make it too tough. We just basically want to like incorporate the flour. I'm going to finish mixing it with just a spatula. Get all of that out. can go for it. Peyton's gonna lick the whisk.
That's all I'm here for, is eat cookie dough.
Yeah. So once it's mostly mixed, we're gonna take about a cup of chocolate chips. And also, because this is like a warmer dough, like the dough is like more melty since the butter's melty, your chocolate chips might not like want to stick, but just like incorporate it as much as you can. Once it all bakes, it's gonna be okay, but
Yeah, that is super freaking good.
Peyton approves.
You can just stop here. Just eat cookie dough.
Okay, so now we have our cookie base. So we're just gonna set that aside. Now we're gonna make the cheesecake base. So this one, super simple to come together. We're gonna use a block of cream cheese. So just 1 8-ounce block of cream cheese. At room temperature, because we want to give it a chance to soften up, otherwise it'll be super clumpy. We don't want clumpy cheesecake. I can get it open. Okay, come on.
You can do it.
Ah, there we go. Get a block of cream cheese in there. We're gonna use 1 egg, which is right here. 1 egg. Half cup of sugar. This isn't quite the same as like the cookie dough, so like it doesn't really need to be measured by weight. So just nice little half cup of sugar, just regular granulated sugar. And then nice splash of vanilla. Normally you measure everything in baking, but
Just being crazy.
yeah, getting wild today. Thank you.
So I think for like the recipes, I really like how they have like each individual thing up there. But I think next time I want to like make all of it, so I think it would look cool to like see one of us like sitting it down.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
It's cool.
Oh.
The thing about the iPad is like there's no memory.
Yeah.
I didn't have any pictures on this, literally just from the coasters and today.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty well mixed. I am going to give it just a little scrape to make sure everything is incorporated. So I'm going to scrape it down a little bit and just mix it up again for just another second.
Monday they will have that video camera, so we'll have a film that lasts forever. So just swirl that together in a bowl.
Honestly, call it a day. Okay. So we have our cheesecake base. Here I have the baking dish. I think, don't quote me, I think this is like an 8 by 10, maybe? Maybe an 8 by 12, I'm not 100% sure. Really anything it will be fine. It just will change the like thickness of the bars when they're done. That's basically all it is. So we kind of want it like,
You're gonna hold that?
yeah, hold that for me. We want to leave some parchment over the side, and I did butter the side of this, so we'll be able to just pull it out really easily when we're all done. But we're gonna take a little bowl. I'm not really gonna measure this, but we just want to leave a little bit of cookie dough out because we're gonna dot the top with cookie dough. So now we're just gonna take all of this, put it in our baking dish. Okay, so clean hands, but I'm just gonna use my hands. We're just gonna spread this all over. So if I was using like an 8 by 8 or something, like a square pan or even like a 9x9, this would definitely be a like very thick bar. Like your cookie layer would be very thick. I'm gonna take a little bit out of this just to fill in the gaps. Like your cookie and your cheesecake layer would both be really thick. Not that there's anything wrong with that, you would just want to adjust the baking time to make sure it bakes all the way through. So spread it out super evenly in your baking dish. I'm gonna wash my hands. Peyton, if you want to take the cheesecake mixture, and you can use this rubber spatula and just pour it.
Oh, the one I licked?
No, this, we had two. Yeah,
Just all over?
all over. We'll spread it out nice and even.
I literally cannot wait for this to be done.
Perfect.
Let you perfect that.
Perfect. Okay. Oh, these are pretty good. I'm just gonna make sure that over on this edge.
Yeah, I think it was a little cooking.
Yeah. And then we're gonna take our leftover cookie dough, and I'm just gonna take really small little bits of it and just start dotting the top of the dish with it. Do it randomly. Like our goal is to definitely cover like as much of it as possible, but once it all bakes, the cookies will spread a little bit and kind of make their way to covering the whole thing. So. Make sure we get our corners. I am a cookie dough thief. Just the sound of your chewing. That's like ASMR, right?
Right.
People like that. Now listen,
really loud.
listen to us eat cookie dough.
Thought that was the whole point of this video, just to watch us eat this afterwards.
Okay, so I have just a little bit left. I would have more, but Peyton ate most of it. So, no, because like I said, that'll all kind of like spread out as it bakes. So now we are ready to go in the oven. Okay, so now we're gonna put this in an oven preheated to 350 degrees on the center rack of the oven for about 30 to 40 minutes.
Nice.